Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Football Closing Time Show for Saturday, November 7th. Ian Cameron and Connor Mack with you as always as we're ready to get you prepared, ready, and hopefully helping you cash some tickets for another college football Saturday. Let's get right into it. Let's start with the early games, noon Eastern. We've got a very, very busy schedule of games. We'll start top of the rotation as we always do. We've got SMU and Temple to get things rolling here. SMU 17.5-point favorites on the road in Philly. The total 62.5, 63 in this game. It's been bet down. And if you saw Temple last week against Tulane, and of course I was victimized a little bit with this game, quarterback situation was completely in flux. They end up having to go to Trad Beatty and Rael Mitchell at quarterback with Anthony Russo out, and they could barely get the ball past midfield against Tulane's defense. Okay, that's not the 85 Bears. That's not an amazing, incredible lockdown, shut you down defense that is impenetrable. That was Tulane, and Temple barely moved the ball against them. And I'm reading a lot of bad reports that there's internal strife at Temple. Rod Carey's got some issues in terms of communication with players on this team, and it was an ugly loss. I'm laying the road chalk here with SMU. I mean, SMU I know can be a little bit flighty here, but you look at SMU, when they face bad defenses, I consider Temple a bad defense this season. They haven't been able to stop hardly anybody. Shane Buechele and this offense can light you up. It's the good defenses that can shut SMU down. But Temple's not one of those defenses. You see what SMU did last week against a horrendous Navy defense. They just absolutely picked them apart. I think more of the same here. And if Temple's struggling to score the last couple weeks against Memphis and against Tulane, then I think SMU can probably hold them down as well. So I'm going to lay the big number here. There's nothing I like right now with Temple, and their quarterback play wasn't just bad last week. It was horrendous. I think SMU has a chance to run away and hide in this game. Connor, did you get involved here, Mustangs Owls?
I didn't, but I'd lean with you. Yeah, last week, I mean, Tulane is giving up, 38 points a game, averaging, and their defense is worse than that. I think Russo's back, though, right, for today?
He's out again. It's going to be Mitchell.
Is he out again?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's SMU or nothing. The way Temple, that was so ugly, but I was stuck with that over. I put it out. It was just, we both got victimized there. That one, it kind of stung. But I'd lean SMU. I didn't want to take them on the road, but they should beat Temple here easily.
All right, East Carolina, Tulane, as we stay in the AAC for this next game. Tulane 3-point road favorites at ECU. The total 63.5 in this game. I've been waiting for East Carolina to stop disappointing me. And look, last week it's another loss, and yeah, you think, geez, another disappointment. That was progress out of East Carolina. I thought that was a really good game, and in fact, if you watch the end of that game against Tulsa, they kind of got shafted. 3 calls kind of went against them that probably should have went toward the Pirates, and yet every call went to Tulsa, and it allowed Tulsa to get the game-winning touchdown drive. The offense had really disappointed. First month of the season, East Carolina didn't play well. But boy, I mean, Holton Ahlers, probably his best game of the season last week against a very good Tulsa defense. The fact they moved the ball like that against Tulsa's defense was very impressive. It makes me think there's a buy sign on East Carolina. And the betting markets agreed, because this opened like at 4.5 on Tulane. The money's come in on East Carolina. I agree. I took some ECU earlier in the week. I don't know if I'd take it at 3 now, but I'd still lean that way. And I like the over as well. I like what I saw of the East Carolina offense last week. They should move the ball effectively against a bad Tulane defense. And on the flip side, I like this freshman quarterback, Michael Pratt, here for Tulane. He's got some hops. He can move in the pocket. He's got a decent arm. He should be able to make some plays. East Carolina's defense has been spotty. So I like the dog in the over here. Connor, what about you? Tulane and ECU.
Yeah, totally agree. I jumped on it, and it's rising up. It's 63.5 and 64s. I got it at 62.5. I agree. I think both teams get in the 30s here easily. And I lean with East Carolina, the dog. I mean, Tulane is kind of a home team, and when they're at home, dog. But I take the +3 here, or a little bit money line with East Carolina if you like a home dog here early.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now that it's down to 3, just take the money line, because Chances are, if they cover, they're going to win this game. Next noon start, Liberty, Virginia Tech. This is one of those games where, again, you get the little brother, big brother type thing. And Liberty probably – this is an interesting game because Virginia Tech, if they're even the least bit motivated, they should roll over Liberty because Liberty hasn't faced anybody close to the caliber of team that Virginia Tech is. But motivation for Virginia Tech, who wants this game more? There's no doubt Liberty, probably is looking at this game as more of an opportunity for them. Virginia Tech stumbled now a time or two. They'll look to rebound. 16.5-point favorites, not only have to win, but win going away. The total 68.5. So for me, it's conflicting arguments on the side. As far as the total goes, Liberty has faced some weak offenses. If you look at their schedule, this has been the sisters of the poor in terms of quality offenses that Liberty's faced this year. Virginia Tech they could score on almost every possession in this game if they're locked in with Hendon Hooker and company. On the flip side, though, the Auburn transfer, Malik Willis, has had a nice season for the Liberty Flames at quarterback. Hugh Freeze's offense, he's fit into it well. It's the kind of quarterback that Hugh Freeze likes, a dual threat, a run pass, dual spread with a mobile quarterback. That's what Hugh Freeze wants in his offense, and he's got that quarterback to run that style of offense successfully. And Virginia Tech's defense suddenly showing some holes in it the last few weeks. So this is another game I'm looking totals wise, and I'm pointing toward over in this one between Liberty and Virginia Tech. Connor, what about you with this one?
Yeah, I think it goes over even at 68, this high number. I took a little piece of Liberty. I got 17.5. It's back to 17. They're going to get scored on. I think they can score on Va Tech. Their defense has looked poor. I don't think they're that good of a football team. And Liberty's kind of been, we'll see. Can they play here today? Can they cover this 17? I don't know. I hope so. I took it. And I think they can score on Va Tech. And Va Tech, like you said, they could score, I don't know, maybe 50, 40, 50. So I'm going to take a little bit on Liberty and the over.
All right, Liberty and the over for Connor. We move on to Sunbelt action, Sunbelt Fun Belt, as we often like to say. It's UL Monroe and Georgia State. Georgia State 18-point favorites here, 58 the total, pretty much across the board in this game, 58.5 in some spots. Look, Georgia State can't be laying this many points to many teams, but Monroe might be one of those teams that are able to lay this kind of wood against, because UL Monroe's just, they got behind the 8 ball early in the season with some COVID-19 issues, and they really haven't rebounded. And the one concern for me is Georgia State's defense has been atrocious this season, but UL Monroe's offense has really struggled to get production offensively. And this should be, in theory, the team Georgia State's offense finally has some success against. I do lean to the favorite here. I think this Georgia State is still hands down far better than UL Monroe. And this is a big step down in class. You look at Georgia State, they've had to play a lot of good teams in this Sun Belt. They finally take a big step down in class here. So it's favorite or pass for me, Connor. How about you in this game?
Yeah, you got to take Georgia State. It's a lot of points, though. I'm not playing it, but yeah, you got to lay the wood here at 19. They should bounce back against a real bad Monroe team that no defense. They really don't have a great offense. They're just not a good football team all the way around. So, yeah, the favorite here, Georgia State or pass.
All right, looking at lean to Georgia State or pass for Connor in that one. On we go. Another noon Eastern start, ACC this time, North Carolina Duke. North Carolina 11.5-point favorites here on the road, 63 the total. Look, North Carolina now has suffered a couple of tough losses. The Florida State loss, the Virginia loss last week. You just worry. There's a couple of teams now that have had these 2 losses where a lot was expected of them, and they're big favorites this week. And we'll talk about another in the Big Ten later. Do you really want to be laying big points with teams like a North Carolina in this spot? Motivation now, all of a sudden, you're worried that, is things going to start to crumble and, go south a little bit on this team. It's not like their defense has played great as of late. They got absolutely just chewed up and spit out by Virginia's offense last week, this North Carolina team. The one concern is if North Carolina is even, and it's a rivalry game, so this is one game where if I'm handicapping motivation, it really should be there for North Carolina, even with the couple losses, because it's Duke. It's a hated rival. It's certainly in basketball, it's a huge rivalry. I know it isn't quite that way in football, but still, you would think North Carolina, in theory, is fired up for this football game. And that's the concern, because Duke's defense ain't going to slow down Sam Howell of North Carolina's offense, not from what I've seen this year. So for me, it's a small lean to Duke and a small lean to the over, but just going to keep these bets extremely small, a pea-sized pizza money, as I like to say. Connor, what about you? Duke, UNC.
Yeah, I've been a fade, which last year I loved North Carolina. Howell, the quarterback, Mac Brown, they've been horrible. I've been fading them all year. And this is a rivalry game. Duke looked well. They looked really good last week against Charlotte. They just whipped them. I got to take the double-digit dog here at home, and I'd lean a bit on this over. I think points are scored easily. It's getting up there. What is it, 64, 63.5?
Yeah,
so
it is.
I lean a little bit on that. Okay.
Yeah, and
I lean a little bit on the over.
Yeah, North Carolina, and lean on the over. Yeah, and North Carolina's run defense has been good in some games, really good in some games, and not so good in others. If the good run defense shows up today for North Carolina, Duke's going to have trouble moving the ball, because the passing game with Chase Bryce, we've seen it enough now. It's just not there. He just hasn't been good enough throwing the football down the field. We're starting to see why Clemson kind of bailed on him and why he ended up in Duke. But, yeah, that's the concern. But running the football, Duke's got to be able to do that if their offense is going to have success. And at times, North Carolina struggled against the run. Hopefully today is one of those games they struggle to stop the run again. Michigan, Indiana. Michigan taking some money, 3.5 up to 4. Road favorites in Bloomington, 55 the total. I lean Indiana, believe it or not. I don't know what to make of Michigan. They beat up on a sad sack Minnesota defense in the first game, which clearly doesn't mean much, because Minnesota's defense couldn't stop Maryland last week, who got 3 points by Northwestern in their opener. So how much do you want to give Joe Milton and Michigan's offense credit for the way they played against Minnesota? And then last week they played this rebuilding Michigan State team, poorly coached, that went into the big house and beat Michigan. So yeah, I don't want to lay points on the road with Michigan, not even interested one bit. The question is, how good's Indiana? They had a misleading game against Penn State. They played Rutgers and they were okay, but they just, they did enough to win. They weren't that impressive. I'm waiting for Michael Penix to get going, because he's kind of underwhelmed so far in the first 2 games for Indiana. But he's supposed to be he's healthy now. He's supposed to be, a really good quarterback. We just haven't seen him put it all together. I like Indiana's defense, though. Indiana does seem to have a better defense this season, and that could be a little bit of trouble for Michigan. I just don't have faith in Michigan laying the points. It's a small play for me toward Indiana here. Connor, what's your thoughts? Wolverines and Hoosiers.
I did the same. I took Indiana with the points and a little money line. I can't trust Michigan at all. You just went through it right there. And I think Indiana just right now has the better football team. I know I got a lot of friends and stuff, think Michigan will bounce back. I don't know. They got to win today, So Harbaugh, he always has these big games. And, not that this is a huge game, but it's a game that they check off they should win at Indiana. But I think Indiana's got a shot here. I'd take the points.
All right, so you would lean Indiana as well. Yeah, it's a game a lot of people are on have different opinions on, for sure, this week from people that I've talked to. Moving on down the card, we keep it going, noon Eastern. We're trying to keep a brisk pace. A lot of games, of course, Pac-12. Mountain West involved now. Their season's underway. Michigan State, Iowa. 5.5 point home favorites, 46 the total. I really want to back Iowa in this game. But again, Iowa to me is they coughed up a big lead against Northwestern and lost. They didn't look good in an opening loss to Purdue. The quarterback play has been spotty. I think the defense has been okay for Iowa. They haven't been terrible on the defensive side of the football, but the offense has really stagnated, and to the point now where you not only have to win, but you got to win by margin. I don't want Michigan State, even after the win. I mean, I'm shocked they went into the big house and won last week for as bad as they looked against Rutgers. But, after a big win against an in-state rival, now you're back on the road again facing a desperate Iowa team at 0-2. That's not a spot, and I still don't trust Rocky Lombardi. He did play better last week. I want to see it again one more time, that he can play well on the road against at least a capable Iowa defense. Iowa is the only side I would look at here in this game. Connor, anything for you? Spartans, Hawkeyes.
Yeah, this was a total pass. I don't know what to make of Michigan State. Last week I didn't take them, and I just stared at that. Just take these points, Connor. I didn't do it. Usually I would have, and they outright won. And Iowa's a team, I don't love laying points, especially like a number like this, 5.5, 6. They should win today at home, but it's probably ugly. It's 24-20. One of these games, their defense hasn't looked too well either. So they need a win. So it's just one of these games. It's a bad spot. I think I'd lay off.
Yeah, and it's a really tricky spot for Michigan State. Because Michigan State's given you one pretty good game and then one horrific game, in their first two games. Which Michigan State is it today? I guess we'll find out in a little while. That game is a noon Eastern kickoff, one of the early games today. All right, next up at noon. How about this for a noon Eastern? You're not seeing things. This is a noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific start in the Pac-12, which you almost never see. Arizona State and USC. Trojans 11.5 point favorites, 56.5, 57 the total in this game. Should be a good one. It's kind of funny to see a Pac-12 game starting this early, but they did it for Fox. Here we are. This should be a battle of two pretty good quarterbacks in this conference. I mean, Jaden Daniels is back for Arizona State. He was pretty solid last year, really got better as the season progressed. His throwing accuracy got better. He's got a lot of his weapons and a good O-line back. They should be able to move the ball. And USC defensively was not good last year at all. This should be a little bit better this year, but I don't know if they're just all of a sudden ready to go here in terms of facing this Arizona State offense that I think should be pretty good. On the flip side, there's no doubt Keaton Slovis and the USC offense should have a big year. They also have a good O-line. They've got a bunch of great skill position talent. Arizona's defense was the strength last year. They got a very good defense. It should be good again this year. But this is really going to be really tough. USC's got a bunch of game breakers that they can throw at this Sun Devils defense, and they might be able to hold them down for a bit, but I don't think they're going to be able to completely hold USC's offense down for 4 quarters. It's funny because you think USC an over team, Arizona State an under team, Herm Edwards conservative, run the football a lot, take time off the clock. But I think Arizona State's offense can work in this game, and I also think USC's offense can work in this game. I do like this game over the total. As far as the side goes, look, do you know how many times Herm Edwards, since he's taken over, Arizona State's lost by 2 touchdowns or more? Like, I think once or twice this entire time. Like, this is a big number of points to be giving this Arizona State team. So I'm compelled to take the double digits here with the Sun Devils as well, especially in a sterile, no fan environment early in the day here in the Coliseum in LA. So no home field advantage whatsoever. So I like ASU and over for me, particularly in this Pac-12 matchup. Connor, thoughts from you, Arizona State, USC?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to the chat. We got Comic Ricky, Dom Ricci, our guy, Ron Lofton, all our guys, Clint, Diehard MMA Podcast.
Absolutely.
AB, all our guy, Jose.
They're all family.
Yeah, definitely. I love Arizona State. I think it's too many points. So I definitely like taking the 11 here. It's USC. It's weird early start time, like you said. Herm Edwards, I think he has them ready to play. I just think it's too many. We'll see. And this is the only Pac-12 game I'm playing. This was the only one I kind of like taking these double-digit points. The other ones I want to see, the Oregon game, a few others. I kind of got burned a little bit that first week of the Big Ten, when you don't see these teams and with COVID, and then, I want to take a look at them. But I kind of like getting points here, so I took the 11.
All right, moving on down the Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Everyone in the chat, as Connor mentioned, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. You're right. And I call them family, Dom Ricci and all these and everyone in the chat here that, I've been chatting with for years. Alex Ramirez, we have our own little Twitter DM going. Honestly, I call them family because I see them and talk to them more than my own family. That's in all seriousness. So definitely that's why they feel like family for me. But good stuff. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hope you're enjoying the show, getting you ready for college football Saturday. South Florida, Memphis next up. Memphis 17.5 point favorite, 67.5 the total. It's a high number. It really is. I don't know if I trust Memphis in this price range, but I sure as hell don't want South Florida. I'm going to make this quick. I didn't get involved here. It's a pass. It's a slight lean to Memphis, but didn't get close to it from a betting standpoint. Connor, how about you?
I didn't either. I'd give a slight lean to Memphis. They're probably a little pissed off. that offense stalled. They could have scored multiple times. Cincinnati, you got to give it up for them. They just whipped them. But I think points will be scored. I don't want to lay, 17, 18 here. And it probably goes over. South Florida probably gets some points on the board here too. So I lean a little bit on the over, but I'm off this game.
Yeah, the concern for me with the over, and I would probably play over before under, is just what's South Florida going to do offensively. And actually, believe it or not, Memphis's defense has shown up a couple times lately. So, but Memphis definitely offensively should have success there. West Virginia, Texas, really interesting Big 12 showdown here. Texas 5.5-point favorites, 55.5 the total. Well, Tom Herman said, not so fast, thinking, my Tom Herman is a dog trend is dead and buried. But, it was 4-5 ATS the last 9 going into last week against Oklahoma State. Sure enough, he got it done one as a dog last week with the Texas Longhorns winning outright in overtime. Great game against Oklahoma State. But here you go. You get the big win, and now you're back home now, laying points against a West Virginia team that, I'll be honest, I got it dead wrong with West Virginia. And that performance last week against Kansas State, it was so good and dominant by West Virginia that it makes me think that maybe that's the game that maybe gets them to turn a corner a little bit. I sure as hell don't love this spot for Texas. The defense of West Virginia has been good getting pressure, and at times the offensive line for Texas has not been able to hold up against teams that can pressure. And this is going to be about as good a defense as Texas has seen, especially in the Big 12 this season. So I think West Virginia is right in this game from start to finish. I would lean to the points here with the Mountaineers on the road as underdogs. And as far as the total's concerned, it's when West Virginia's faced some of these up-tempo offenses like Texas, they haven't mind going with that pace. So for me, it would be a lean to the over as well, but I like West Virginia more than the total here. Connor, what about you? West Virginia, Texas?
I didn't get involved, but West Virginia looked good last week.
Yes,
wow, it was a bit surprising. I don't like Texas, and they won, but I just don't like them. I wouldn't lay points with them. I'd pass here, or I'd take West Virginia the points here. I think if Texas wins, I think it's close. I don't see them blowing them out. So I'd grab the points if you like the dog here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in agreement there. Next up, Nebraska, Northwestern. We've got Northwestern taking money up to 4.5, 53 the total. I agree. I mean, look, Nebraska as an underdog has not actually been a great bet under Scott Frost, especially as of late. They have had trouble cashing tickets in that role. And to me, Northwestern, I like what I've seen, from Pat Fitzgerald's team. Peyton Ramsey might be the best quarterback they've had in years since maybe Simeon was there. He's definitely better than Thorson. There's no doubt about that. And he's given them a little bit of a passing game. They don't ask him to do too much. They're always a balanced offense. They like to run it. They should be able to against Nebraska. Nebraska continues to get pushed around along the defensive line. That continues to be an issue for them. Taylor Martinez, I'm sick and tired of waiting for him to display consistency on a week-in, week-out basis. Yeah, to me, Northwestern better team. And I hate to say this because I think Frost did a great job at Central Florida, but here at Nebraska, there's some things he's doing in game with coaching decisions and timeout decisions and stuff like that has me scratching my head. So from a coaching standpoint, I give Fitzgerald an edge here in this game. For me, it would be Northwestern minus the small number. Connor, how about you here? Big 10.
Yeah, real quick, I want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. Check this out. It's our new app called Wolf Spreads. And just download it on your Google.
What's going on with that exactly?
Yeah. Just download it and then hit Pub Sports Radio Battle Royale. And each week you get $2K of money, and you just pick the games you like. Winner at the end of the week gets a bunch of shirts, merch that we have. So just head to Wolf Spreads, the app, and then put in Pub Sports Radio Battle Royale and get your fix on with that. But I'm on Northwestern here. Back to the games. I'm on Northwestern. I'm a Martinez fade. I don't like Nebraska. I think the number's low, so I jumped on it right away. It's 3.5. I think it's a little bit of a steal. I think Northwestern's for real, and because the number's low, that's why I like it. I don't like laying big numbers with Northwestern. Nebraska isn't a team I want to be on, even as a small dog in the spot.
All right, Arkansas State, UL Lafayette. We go back to the Sun Belt. Lafayette, 14.5-point favorites here, 68.5 the total in this one. This is a pass for me. Lafayette hasn't just been bad in this double-digit favorite range. They've been horrendous. They've been overvalued week in and week out, this Ragin' Cajun team. They're a good team, but they're priced like it. In fact, they're overpriced like it. That's the issue. What's wrong with taking Arkansas State then? They can't stop anybody. And if Levi Lewis and the run game of Lafayette's in tune today, they could still cover this number, because I don't know how many stops this defense is. I think they've quit almost, because they fired the defensive coordinator a few weeks ago. It hasn't made one damn bit of difference. Still haven't been able to stop anybody, Arkansas State. So it's a tough game. Maybe a slight lean over, but Lafayette, doesn't necessarily run with the same pace and tempo they did a year or two ago. So it's a pass for me overall. Connor, how about you? Did you get involved here?
No, I don't like the 14 and the hook. I'd lean Lafayette. Arkansas State can't, like I said, they're back to not stopping anybody. It was like last year. I was surprised the first 3 games of the year. Their defense played a little bit. Not, they weren't that bad. Now they're just back to every possession's just a touchdown. And the last 2 games, they haven't scored. The offense hasn't looked that great. So it's a pass here. I want nothing to do with this game.
All right, we go to Troy and Georgia Southern, with Troy 3.5 point road favorites, total 52.5, 53 in this game. Georgia Southern is another one of those teams. They haven't quite played as well as they thought. It looks like Gunnar Watson's out again at quarterback for Troy, so it's going to be Jacob Free again, and he played pretty damn good. They beat Speaking of Arkansas State, they beat up on Arkansas State, and I was on them. I said I like Troy plus the points last week. I thought the wrong team was favored, and boy, I said, don't worry about Jacob Free being the quarterback. The guy can play, and he came in there and he shredded Arkansas State's defense. I do lean to Troy, but I think the number and the matchup was better. The one thing about Troy is sometimes the run, they can struggle against it, and you're going to obviously see a lot of it with Shai Wertz and that Georgia Southern triple option. So for me, it's a pass with just a small lean to Troy only. Connor, how about you here?
Yeah, I'd pass too. Kind of a tricky spot.
Yeah.
I don't like Troy as a favorite here. There might be a little value with Georgia Southern, but that's a game I don't want to look. I pass right away.
Yeah, it has a field goal game written all over it. Now there's 3.5 showing up on Troy as a road favorite. So there might indeed be some value in Georgia Southern, but I just don't like them enough to take them. All right, Boston College, Syracuse. BC 14-point road favorites, 53.5 the total. Look, I'm going to keep betting Syracuse over the total because they're at home, because their defense, and again, weather won't be an issue in the Carrier Dome. And I like Phil Jurkovec and the Eagles offense. We saw what they did last week against Clemson. As far as the side goes, I can't take Syracuse, but I totally understand with the worry about laying 14 with Boston College after just an absolutely gut-wrenching loss against Clemson. They had a big lead in the first half at halftime, and they let it slip in the second half. In fact, they get the old goose egg in the second half, shut out by Clemson in that comeback victory for the Tigers. You worry it might be difficult to get up off the mat. It's impossible from a side perspective. I can't back Syracuse, all the injuries they've got. Rex Culpepper may not even play today, so they could be down to their third quarterback, Syracuse, as well today. But Boston College, no way in this spot. After last week's game, can I lay 14 with them? So it's a pass from a side perspective, just the smallest of bets on the over, even with potentially a third quarterback in the game for Syracuse. 52.5 for a team that runs the amount of plays Syracuse does every game. Pretty damn low total. So I figured let's take a chance here, pointing to the over. All right, Connor, BC, Syracuse. Did you do anything in this game?
I like the over a little bit. I took Boston College at 13.5. Now it's 14 in the hook. I forget the kid's name. Their DB for Syracuse, he opted out because he thinks he's going to be maybe a late first round draft pick. I forget his name. So that just hurts the defense that's already really bad. So that's why I took the 13.5. It's like I said, you get the 14.5, the hook here. I think they just, it's kind of like I see the weight game last week should be, I don't know, 49-17, I'm thinking. And I think it should go over too. So I got a little on the over as well.
All right, so a little bit on BC and the over. App State, Texas State, 17.5 up to 21. We've seen a big move on App State, 57 the total. I totally agree with the move. Texas State's running on fumes. They have run out of gas, whatever phrase you want to come up with. They have just looked like they've hit a complete and utter wall the last few games. They're at the point now where the injuries are mounting. They're struggling to remain competitive on a weekly basis. It's just been a whole bunch of issues for this Texas State team, and I'm not sure it's going to get any better for them facing one of the top teams here in the Sun Belt. Going to be trouble for them. You look at Texas State here. They did cover against Lafayette last week, but Lafayette made a ton of mistakes before that. They get drilled by Troy, drilled by South Alabama, obviously crushed by BYU 52-14. But, it's been a real tough uphill battle for Texas State as of late. The defense has been unable to stop anything. I think App State rules. I think if you got below 3 touchdowns, you got a good number. Maybe at 21, it's a little steep now, but I do see why people were liking App State earlier in the week. Connor, how about you? App State, Texas State.
Yeah, I think they could name the score here. So I liked it under 3 touchdowns. I didn't bet it. It's up to 21.5. Texas State, like you said, they're not a good football team. Poor defense. App State should just roll on them here.
All right, moving on now. We're at the 3 p.m. Eastern games. I think we have, Massachusetts Marshall. Marshall 44-point favorites. Look at how far Massachusetts has fallen. This isn't like Alabama or Ohio State or something that you're playing here. You're playing Marshall's a good team, but it's Marshall. It's a Conference USA team, and they're laying 44 against you. Are you kidding? 55.5 the total, and that's how bad UMass football is. Walt Bell, hope you enjoy it. Signing up for this dumpster fire of a job here with the Minutemen. Look, their offense hasn't worked, Massachusetts, at all this season. It's hard to back them, but it seems like a shit ton of points. I mean, Marshall's very good, but they're very conservative. They're deliberate. They're not necessarily that team you think of winning by 45 points or more, and that's what it's going to take here. I actually think based on people I've talked to, because I asked people, is it nuts for this line to be where it is? Talent-wise, maybe not, but there has been an adjustment made on UMass, a significant downward adjustment on UMass to the point where there seems to be 7 or 8 even in some people's minds, 7 or 8 points of value on UMass. Question is, do you have the guts to take them? It's dog or pass. I know it's an ugly one. They've been atrocious. Marshall's been good in every game this year, but this is an inflated number to the nth degree. So it'd be dog or pass, but boy, it's a plug your nose bet if you're going to make it. Connor, how about you? UMass Marshall.
That's why I couldn't take it. This is a spot where I'd like to take UMass, but they're just horrible. I can't take them. Even at 45, which is wild. Marshall, I think, I can't believe they're 45-point favorites. They should win, like 52-0. But do you want to fit a late touchdown there and that push, or you lose? I don't know. I don't like betting these games too much, these huge numbers. And if I ever do, I usually taking the points. We might talk about one here in a little bit. But yeah, I had to pass here. There's just no.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you there. 3:30 Eastern games now. Houston, Cincinnati, good one in the AAC. Cincy, 12.5-point home favorites, 51.5 the total. I'll say this right now. You're not getting value with Cincy. People know now how good this team was. They beat SMU, they beat Memphis, and I was on them against Memphis last week, laying the 6.5. They got it done with ease. I'm going to take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run, like Steve Miller Band used to say. Yeah. I'm not going to jump back here at an elevated number against Houston. Houston, I don't trust, though. Houston's a flighty team. I'm not a big Dana Holgerson guy. The defense, I don't trust them. And the offense is good, but look, Cincinnati shut down better offenses, or at least offenses that are on par with Houston's the last 2 weeks, shutting down SMU, shutting down Memphis. There's just no reason for me to go against Cincinnati. They're clearly the best team in this conference, and it's not even close. They're clearly the best defense in this conference, and it's not even close. So for me, the value's not there on Cincy, but there's no way I'm going against them. Connor, Cincy and Houston.
Agree, and it's under 2 touchdowns. It just is a flat spot here after that big win. They couldn't get over the hump beating Memphis. Huge game. They should win by 2 touchdowns. Houston's bad defense, but I just didn't want to play it. But definitely lean Cincy here, under the 14.
All right, next up on the 3:30 slate now, we've got Maryland and Penn State. Penn State up to 26.5, 27-point home favorites, 63-64.5 the total. You want to lay this kind of number with this team, knock yourself out. I'm not going to be doing that. This is another game. We talked about it with North Carolina now. A couple of losses in a row. Can't make the playoff. Can't even get to the Big Ten championship game anymore after this 0-2 start, losing to Indiana and Ohio State last week. What's left for Penn State? And James Franklin in these spots, when he's getting these tough losses and a lot of your expectations are out the window, he's had a very difficult time getting his team ready off, seeing their dreams dashed. He's 4-17 ATS, James Franklin at Penn State off a loss. That tells you 4-17 ATS off a loss. That's bad. The fear is, can Maryland's defense stop Penn State? Even if Penn State's not interested, they might be able to just hand the ball off and run right through this terrible Maryland defense. But I'm going to take my chance with Maryland here at plus 27. I did see, Talia Tagovailoa was awful against Northwestern, but every bit is, the total opposite against Minnesota last week. Now, some of that bad Minnesota defense, I get it, but he's got the running ability. He can make some plays outside the pocket. And I just don't know where Penn State is in the mental, and positive mindset right now to be laying nearly 4 touchdowns to anybody after 2 just crushing losses, which has ended their season essentially. Not ended it, but they're going to be with a minor bowl game now. They're barely going to be able to hang in for a New Year's Six bowl game if they keep losing. So you worry about the mindset of this Penn State team. I do like Maryland plus the points, and I do again see this game being a shootout here. So the over as well. Connor, Maryland, Penn State.
I didn't bet this, but I'd look Maryland. Like you said, I think Penn State wins. This is huge. And Maryland, they have no defense. Penn State, well, like you said, they could just run, pat. They could do whatever they want here. But I think Penn State's defense will give it up a little bit. So getting the points here, I'm going to think about this game. I might take the points as well. So I'm leaning Maryland here as well, getting that many. I like it at 27. So.
Yeah, if you like
what
Maryland,
you got?
Yeah, I got 26. I got a bit of a bad number, so It's gone up since then. But, if you like Maryland, wait till 3:30. It might even come in more on Penn State. A lot of people just hammering Penn State. You might be able to get a full 28 by kickoff. We'll see. Minnesota, Illinois. Minnesota 7-point road favorite, 64 the total here in this game. Obviously, last week, just a ton of issues for Illinois with COVID-19. The very last minute it was announced before the game, which was a big problem for them. We'll have to see who's back exactly for the Illini here in this matchup. Brandon Peters is still out. Matt Robinson was the guy that backed him up last week in that game again, and apparently, he looks like he may or may not be ready to play. The last I checked, if he doesn't go, that means we're looking at Coron Taylor at quarterback, the third stringer for Illinois. But at this point, I still think Illinois can put up points regardless of who's in there, because I've seen enough now of Minnesota's defense 2 weeks in a row. It is absolutely atrocious. Minnesota's going to score against Illinois because I still like Tanner Morgan. That offense is good. Ibrahim, the running back, is outstanding. They'll score points, but I think Illinois can punch in some scores too as well. So the over is taking money, some of it mine. I like the over here. Connor, Minnesota, Illinois.
Yeah, I lean a little bit on the over. I haven't bet it. Minnesota's defense, I'm off them. They should win here, but I don't know what they're doing on that side of the ball. They'll score, like you said, pretty easy. And Illinois should be able to score whoever's in there on this offense QB playing. I lean with Illinois and the over a little bit here with the points and the over. 61.5, 62.
Yeah, I definitely like that game.
Oh, it's up to 64. Shit.
Yeah, I like that game over the total. Even at the current number, I would endorse it. Fresno, UNLV. We've got Fresno 11-point road favorites, 57 the total. Look, I said Fresno's a bet against team coming into the season. I'm 1-1 betting against them. I was on Hawaii against them in the first game, and I was on, unfortunately, Colorado State last week against them, and Fresno just whipped them. Which Fresno do we see? This, to me, is a good value play on UNLV. Because you look at UNLV, they played San Diego State, they played Nevada, 2 of the best teams in the Mountain West. And look at how good Nevada's turning into right now. They just destroyed Utah State on Thursday night. So I think UNLV now, after what I saw to Nevada, and the fact UNLV kind of, did some things offensively with Max Gilliam against that Nevada team, to me, this is way too many points to trust Fresno on the road. I know UNLV's been not really that impressive, but you're going to ask this young Fresno team to lay double digits on the road. Still a weak defense. Still not sold on Jake Hayner, the quarterback. Yeah, I like UNLV here a little bit. Go fight, win, Rebs. Let's go. Connor, what about you?
Oh, sorry, I had a burp. Yeah, I can't take UNLV. I just can't do it. Even as double digit dogs, like sometimes you're like this, and this would be a spot. You're right, and they look too bad. UNLV their last game. I can't trust Fresno though. I don't want to lay double digits with them. Just no way. They're not a team that should be laying double digits. If this was just a touchdown or so or below, I would take Fresno State, but not in this number. It's inflated, I think, a little bit. So I guess there's a little value in UNLV. I just can't take it, I see this team all the time. They're just so bad.
Yeah, and that's the brilliance. I mean, we don't have to bet every game on the board, even though they have to post a number for one. Kansas and Oklahoma, just like this one. Oklahoma, 38-point favorite, 64 the total. Very easy pass. Just too big a number on Oklahoma. I don't want Kansas. I haven't wanted to bet Kansas once this season, and I still don't want to bet Kansas. But there's too many points. And as far as the total goes, I know Oklahoma's going to score at will, but if Kansas can't contribute, I might have trouble getting over. So it's a pass for me, KU and Oklahoma. Connor, did you get involved there?
Total, just pass. No way. There's no way. Oklahoma should cover here. And I've been taking every team against Kansas, and they've covered.
Yep.
I'd take Oklahoma, I guess. I'm just not a guy who loves laying that many points, even with a bad team. But it'd be Oklahoma or pass here.
Yeah, and they're only 2 and 5 against the spread, 2 and 4 against the spread. This year. No, 1, 2. No, sorry. 5 and 1 against the spread this year, Kansas. They haven't covered a number yet. So again, you got a bottom feeder that hasn't covered. Mm-hmm. Clearly the betting markets are still slow, believe it or not, on how bad Kansas is. So I can't take them. It would be Oklahoma or pass, but not at this number. So moving on down the card, next up, we've got Texas Tech TCU staying in the Big 12. TCU 10-point home favorite, 60.5 the total. You go back and look at Gary Patterson, recent track record as home favorites. Not good at all. Texas Tech can get anything from this backup quarterback who at times has been okay and at times has been awful. That's the question. For me, it's Texas Tech plus the points. But obviously, we know this team from a quarterback standpoint. Their defense has actually played better this year for a bit. Henry Colombi, that's the guy we've got to rely on here. Let me see if I can get an update on the status of Alan Bowman. Obviously, he's the guy you'd be preferring to start, but it looks like it's going to be Henry Colombi back at quarterback for Texas Tech this week. See if he can continue to improve. For me, it would still be lean to the underdog here. Texas Tech, TCU, Connor.
Yeah, I'd lean a little bit on Texas Tech, but I'm passing. They've been just a strange team. You know, they kind of got whipped in yards that game with West Virginia, but they won.
Yeah.
And then just got blown out, which I see the over here as well. So I'm going to take a little bit on the over, a small bet on the over, because Texas Tech can't stop anybody. And I think they can get a little bit. I don't like you said, TCU as this big a favorite at home. They look so good to start out against Baylor, kind of like tailed off, and I don't know what to make of them. TCU, I'm just like scratching my head about them. So a little bit on the over.
All right, next up, we've got this is a big one. SEC East, Florida, Georgia. Georgia 3-point home favorites, 54 the total. This Florida side's taking money, and I have already bet Florida. I bet it early in the week. I like Florida early in the week, and I liked it for a bunch of reasons here. Georgia's got cluster injuries in the secondary. That's not what you want against Kyle Trask and this explosive passing attack of the Gators. That's number one. Number two, they're also down one of their top receivers as well, Georgia, for this game. And number three is Florida's got the second best offense in the SEC, I think, behind Alabama. And Georgia's defense, for all the accolades, and they got a great defense. I don't dispute that. But the one elite SEC offense they played was Alabama, and Alabama's beaten them over the top. Big plays. They got gashed a little bit in that game. Florida's got that potential, especially with a short-handed secondary for Georgia today, to do similar damage. And Stetson Bennett has not been good the last 6 quarters. The last 2 against Alabama and then the game against Kentucky last week, that was ugly. That was just, we can't do anything on offense. We're just going to barely do enough to get past Kentucky, and that's exactly what we saw. That's not going to cut it here today against Florida. I think Florida wins the game. Just a bonus to take any plus points I can here with the Gators. And I also like the over a little bit, but I think I like the side Florida a little bit more. It's tough because Florida is a dead nuts over. Georgia's a dead nuts under. Alabama, though, I go back to that game. They pulled Georgia into an over. I think Florida could do the same here today. Connor, good game. What do you think? Florida, Georgia.
Yeah, I totally agree with the total you were just talking about. I think it goes over. Florida scores here. And I'm not betting right away. I like Georgia, but those injuries in the secondary and the D line, I can't take Georgia. So, and I don't like Florida enough to bet it. The only play I might play is on the over here. So that's it.
There we go. Looking at the over potentially here with the Florida, Georgia. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Mississippi State 18.5, 19, total 45. Pass. I want nothing to do with this game. How can you lay 19 with Mississippi State? How can you take Vanderbilt at any number right now? Pass. Go ahead, Connor.
Agree.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's 11:50 a.m. We still got some games to go. We need to whittle it down. That's going to help a game like that. Seriously, don't bet that game, please. I'm begging you. All right, moving on down the card.
If you're out there, don't bet that game.
Don't bet it. No, it's going to be harmful to your health, your mental health. Florida State 2.0 favorites, 52 the total. This game probably could stay under because Florida State's getting some defensive weaponry back from injury. One of their better defensive players returning from injury. Pitt's still down to the backup quarterback, Yeller, to me, who hasn't been impressive so far. Florida State's offense, some good, some bad. Nothing on the side, just to lean to the under. What's your thoughts here, Connor?
I had nothing on this game. I mean, think about two good football teams normally, Pittsburgh and Florida State, that are just bottom. They're trying to, come back up, So I gotta pass here. I have nothing on this one. This is one that's kind of ugly. We were talking about. I want nothing to do with it. That's because the number's so low, just at 2. Yep. I guess if you like Florida State, you take them. But I gotta pass.
Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Oklahoma State 14-point road favorites, 47.5 the total. I'm a sucker for K-State as a dog. I took them last week, and I'm taking them again this week, even though they lost last week and lost badly. I have to now that it's 14. This is Chris Kleiman's MO. He's going to dumb it down, run the football, bleed the clock, keep Spencer Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and Oklahoma State off the field, and hope he can hang around and steal it at the end. That's essentially the way Kansas State tries to play, and it could work here because Oklahoma State, off a crushing loss to Texas, real tough loss, overtime game, had a lead, couldn't hold it. Not the spot on the road, laying 14, not the spot I want to do it with Oklahoma State. The problem is, if Kansas State, we saw it last week against West Virginia, and Oklahoma State's got a defense every bit as good as West Virginia's. If they get behind, they're done. Will Howard is okay. He's not a rally the troops from behind kind of quarterback for Kansas State. They've got to keep this game close. Hopefully they do. I'm going to look toward K-State one more time. If they don't cover here, I'll probably stay away from them for a while. Connor, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm with them. This is more of a better spot with the points than last week. I might have reached a little bit. We both did. This I like 2 touchdowns at home with K-State. We'll see. They're kind of teams. These teams. You break it down like the first 2 or 3 games. They're good. They play well, and as the season goes on, the holes start to show up in injuries and stuff like that. But I got to take 2 touchdowns with K-State at home.
You and I agree there. Definitely. We're into the night games now, on the night shift, as the Commodores used to say. Moving on down the card here, we've got 7 p.m. Let's go to those games. Baylor, Iowa State 14, 46.5 the total. I almost laid it with Iowa State because Baylor's a mess. COVID issues. For some reason, it's been a tough year for Dave Aranda in his first year. I mean, the defense has fallen apart. The offense, Charlie Brewer, has regressed, but he's not got a lot to work with. A bad offensive line, doesn't have the skill position talent he used to. It's been real tough sledding at Baylor. Leaned to the home favorite, but didn't pull the trigger. Connor, Baylor, Iowa State.
I didn't either. I lean Iowa State as well. Baylor's just been, and I want nothing to do with them. So I passed this game. They've been horrible. Wow. Don't bet Baylor. I mean, today would be maybe getting these points. I even at 14, I don't know if they can cover this, so I got to pass.
All right, UCLA, Colorado, back to the Pac-12 we go. We'll have a lot of Pac-12 games here tonight for the rest of this card as we break it down. UCLA 6-point road favorites in Boulder for this game. The total right now about 55 and a half, 56 right now in this, actually up to 57 in some spots. I lean UCLA, and I like the over here because Dorian Thompson-Robinson back. This is Chip Kelly's offense. Let's see if this is the year he's supposed to have his offense in place. He's got his quarterback, multi-year starter, offensive line, some decent skill position weapons. Let's see this UCLA offense finally look good. Colorado is starting over on defense. Montez gone, a new starting quarterback as well for the Buffaloes heading into this season. So there's a lot of changes. New head coach. The offensive coordinator is the same, though. The new head coach kept around Darren Shiverini, the offensive coordinator. So the system and scheme is going to be the same here for the new Colorado quarterback. That's why I think they're going to put up points with UCLA's defense still being a work in progress. I lean road favorite. I like the over a little bit more, though. UCLA, Colorado. Connor, I know you said you didn't do much with the Pac-12, but still, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I didn't. But this game, I'd lean – it's tough to say. I take Colorado here with the points at home. But like I said, I got to watch these games because I just don't trust even UCLA because it's always, this is the year they're going to be – you always get the hype from L.A., that they're going to be better, Chip Kelly. But I don't want to lay game one. I don't even want to lay this number against Colorado. So I'd be on the dog here or pass.
All right, next up, we've got Texas A&M, South Carolina in the SEC. Texas A&M up to 10, 58.5 the total, and I'm standing right in front of that line move and going against it with South Carolina now at plus 10. This is a great spot for South Carolina off a bye week. They've been good at home. Remember, they beat Auburn as home underdogs. They've been good as home underdogs under Will Muschamp. They always seem to give the better teams a game. And A&M, this is the time to sell high on them, as everybody's loving what they're seeing out of A&M. They're up to 7th in the country. Kellen Mond's had his best season ever. There's no question. He's looking great. The offense is looking great. But his numbers on the road this season, they're still nowhere near what they've been at home. So I think, that's trouble when you're laying 10 like this on the road. Colin Hill, a bye week. I know the offense is kind of disappointed, but he's an experienced quarterback. They've worked on some things. I think they'll have some trick plays, gadget plays to throw at this defense of A&M, which is still not great. They gave up 31 points to Arkansas last week. I think South Carolina is in this game. I wouldn't even completely rule out the outright upset win, honestly, but I'll be more than happy just to take the 10 and see South Carolina hang in this game. And I also like there to be points in this game. And like the over at 58.5, 59. Connor, A&M, South Kakalaki, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I got to go with the home dog. I take the points here. I think not that Texas A&M is a fraud, but I'm not a Munn fan. I don't want to lay points with him on the road. And this is a perfect spot for South Carolina. I think they stay close in this game, and I think they score points. I lean a little bit on the over as well, but I didn't bet it, so maybe I will. I'm going to wait on that.
All right, next up on the slate as we go to the 7:30 games now for tonight in college football. Where are we at? Rutgers, Ohio State 38.5 point home favorite, 63.5, 64 the total. I'm tempted by Rutgers at this number. Tempted, but I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. It's just not a great spot for Ohio State. Huge win on the road at Penn State last week. This might be just, but the problem is we've seen Ryan Day try to punch in late touchdowns in the final minute of games this year. So if they're up by 31 or 35 in the final 2 minutes, you could have your back broken if you're on Rutgers here. So, but I still lean Rutgers. It's a big number and a slight lean to the over as well. Connor, Rutgers, Ohio State.
Same thing. I talked about it earlier. I wouldn't make it a huge bet, but I think I'm going to wait on this game, but I think I'm going to take the points with Rutgers. It's just that's a lot. I think they score on Ohio State. So that's why, but you're right. They've been scoring a lot, punching in late touchdowns, stuff like that. Could be borderline, but I think I might take a little bit on them here, getting 40. So,
yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Stanford, Oregon, Pac-12, another Pac-12 game. ABC, Oregon, 9.5, 10-point favorites, 51 the total. Oregon, a lot of secondary opt-outs, the offensive line in shambles, new quarterback. I can see why Stanford's taking money. I think there's going to be some growing. Now, they are loaded on defense, Oregon, up front. I mean, the defensive line in particular. really, really strong for Oregon. Davis Mills back at quarterback for Stanford. The offensive line, those improved. He's got some weapons around him. Stanford defense should be better. And Stanford's given Oregon fits. Doesn't matter where they play Oregon tough. Last 2 trips to Eugene, Oregon, Stanford 2-0 straight up, 2-0 against the spread. So they have been tough here on Oregon, especially on this field. And again, it's not going to be that same strong Eugene, Oregon home field at Autzen Stadium with no fans tonight. So I agree with the move. It would be Stanford or nothing for me in this game. Connor, what about you?
I'm not taking it, but I would lean Stanford as well. They always just play them tough, like you said. And it's 10. There's not many left. Yeah, it's 9.5. If you like Stanford, I would have got the 10. There's high hopes for Oregon, that they're going to be, at least they think they're the class of the Pac-12. But we'll see. We'll see how good. I mean, they're definitely going to have playmakers on both sides of the ball. So, yeah, this is one I want to watch for sure tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes there's those games out there where you just want to watch, see, observe, and use what you watch for the next game. Absolutely. Next up, 7:30. We've got, Western Kentucky, Florida Atlantic, FAU 7-point home favorites, 37.5, 38 the total. That Florida Atlantic defense is really good. Problem is their offense stinks. So I can't lay 7 with them. And I don't know if I trust Western Kentucky's offense against a good defense. And the under makes a lot of sense, but we're talking 38 now in a college game. You can almost get over that by accident. So it's a pass. Connor, what about you?
Yeah, wow, that total's low. Is this the Jets game?
The Jets. Yeah. The Jets college football, they're so bad. That's exactly what's happening.
I know. I can't take either one here. That's just a pass. I don't want pass. I don't want Kentucky, and I don't want to lay points with Florida Atlantic. Yeah,
it's hard to blame you on that one. All right, Tennessee, Arkansas. We've got Tennessee 1-point road favorites in Fayetteville, 52.5 the total. Give me Arkansas. Arkansas was my best bet on the college football show last Saturday. You and I said Arkansas plus the points is a best bet. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be my best bet at the end of the show today, but I am betting them. Look, Tennessee's the better team talent-wise. I get that. The better roster, I get that. Tennessee's not right, though. They've been awful the last few games. You're going to have to hope the extra time, wipes the slate clean and they're ready to hit the reset button. But I like the way Sam Pittman is coaching up Arkansas. Felipe Franks and the offense is getting better each week. The defense isn't. That's the one issue I have. Arkansas's defense has kind of been gashed the last couple of weeks. But Tennessee's offense, Guarantano, especially on the road, is he going to really scare you as a defense? I don't think so. So give me Arkansas. I think they can win this game. I'm reading the tea leaves with Tennessee that this team's things aren't looking right with that team right now. I'm going to go with the home underdog Razorbacks here. Connor, how about you? Tennessee and Arkansas.
Yeah, I know that it's small, but I got to go with the Razorbacks here. Yeah, I got the backdoor cover last week, and I can't take Tennessee even as a small favorite. One they open at 3. There's no way with those quarterback problems and everything. There's no way I take Tennessee on the road, even laying 1 point. So I like this Arkansas. I think they're feisty. I already bet it money line, just them. So money line Arkansas on Arkansas.
All right, money line on Arkansas. Absolutely, no disagreements with that one. All right, moving on as we're doing good for time. We've got more games than we've had on any show we've done on Saturday, Connor, you and I. And we're still almost done the card, and it's just hitting noon Eastern right now. So we're doing pretty good in terms of time. South Alabama, Coastal Carolina, 17.5-point home favorites, 56 in total. I love hearing people say, I got to take South Alabama this week. The spot's not great for Coastal Carolina. Spot hasn't been great multiple times this season for Coastal Carolina. They still destroy and they still get the job done. You can bet against Coastal Carolina to your heart's content. I'm not doing it. I would only lay the points here. I didn't, but that's the only way I'd look. Connor, what about you?
Yeah, I didn't either. It's Coastal Carolina or pass. This team keeps playing well. And what surprised me was just how good the defense played. I watched that whole game, and all I wanted was a touchdown, Georgia State to get the over. But their defense play just lights out. I mean, and there's no way it's Coastal Carolina. I think they win here. I don't love laying the 18. That's why I didn't take it. But I think they win here. And who knows? It could be just 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. That's why I don't like the number. It's right, at 17, 18. So I had to pass on it.
All right, next up as we continue on, we've got let's see where we're at here. I'm going to save, by the way, Notre Dame Clemson to the end. I purposely am keeping that for the last game. It's the big game. It's top 5 teams. Everybody's excited for it. I think we're down to just the late games. So here we go. Washington State and Oregon State, Pac-12 action. Oregon State 3-point home favorites in Corvallis, 62.5, 63 the total. I'm on Oregon State here. I think this is a team. Jonathan Smith last year, they got this team to 5 wins is a great season for Oregon State last year.
Yeah,
they have been
last year it was
bottom feeder for years. Bad coaches. This Jonathan Smith, this young coach they have now, showed me something last year. 5-7 straight up. They were 9-3 against the spread last year. So they were a very good point spread team. Their defense, which has had a tough time the last few years, is back with as good a defense as they've had in years. Tristan Gebbia takes over. Remember, Jake Luton has moved on to the NFL now. In fact, starting for the first time with Jacksonville tomorrow, Jake Luton. But Tristan Gebbia, they're raving about this guy, Oregon State in camp. Washington State, I like Nick Rolovich. Don't get me wrong. Did a great job at Hawaii, but he's got a bare cupboard here. New quarterback, new systems, new coordinators, and a COVID season. That's never a good adjustment. New quarterback as well. And the defense is totally rebuilt. And Washington State's defense wasn't good last year. And now they're totally rebuilt. The defensive line, 0 returning starters. The secondary is rebuilt, revamped. I think Oregon State can put up a huge number, win this game, cover this number. One of my favorite bets today on the card, actually. And it's from the Pac-12, even from a conference that hasn't played yet. But I think it sets up well. And revenge, I hate using that word, and it's overrated. But this is a revenge spot that matters a bit more. Oregon State lost to Washington State 54-53 last year. It was a heartbreaker. They had the lead for most of the game. They let it slip late again in that game to the Cougars. And it's one of the key losses that kept them from making a bowl game last year. I think Oregon State remembers that, and they get them back tonight. So I like this game, Oregon State, and a smaller bet on the over as well. Connor, what about you here? Cougars and Beavers.
You nailed it. I like, this is my second one, and it was later. As I said, I bet the Pac-12. I was a little one to watch Arizona State plus the 11. But I'm with you here. Oregon State's bringing back a team that to win 5 games last year was good, and they were competitive a bit, for the Pac-12. I thought I cashed a few tickets on them last year. There's no way Washington State, like you said, just no defensive players, starters coming back, really. Just depleted. Everything's a restart there. So I like Oregon State. I'm with you here. That's laying the small number. I'd take them for sure.
All right. So like in the Oregon State side as well as the home favorite of a field goal here in this game. All right. We're down to, as I'm looking at the schedule here, we are down to
on the big one?
2 games. We've got one more. And then, of course, the big one, Clemson and Notre Dame. Before we get to that, this is the big one. Come on. Are you kidding me? New Mexico and Hawaii. Come on. Hawaii, 14, 15-point home favorite, 64 the total. Look, I almost never lay double digits with Hawaii, but I like what I've seen. They hung tough in a tough spot. Second road game up in Laramie. They didn't get blown out. They lost, but they didn't get blown out. Defense hung in there. They have a defense, I think, this year, Hawaii. They've actually played pretty good on defense. And Fresno shredded Colorado State. That same Fresno offense got shut down by Hawaii in their first game. I don't trust New Mexico's offense on the road. I just don't. This New Mexico offense is nothing to write home about. Tui Bada's back as the quarterback, but he's erratic throwing the ball. I like Chevin Cordero, the Hawaii quarterback. They're finally playing a home game. I think they're going to bask in it. I think they could roll New Mexico here. Minus 15. Yeah, it's a small bet for me, but I laid it with Hawaii. I think they're just a lot better. Connor, how about you? Hawaii, New Mexico.
I'm not betting it, but I'd be with you. New Mexico's got a long way to go. I want to see maybe as the year goes on, if this defense can get any better with Rocky Long. It's going to take time. So, yeah, in this spot, I think Hawaii's the play here. Right now, they're way better than New Mexico. So I'd small lean with Hawaii here for sure.
And the big one, Clemson, Notre Dame. This could be in Notre Dame's case, this is a playoff eliminator. If they lose this game, they're out of the playoff discussion. Yeah. I think if Clemson loses, they can still get in, I think, by winning the ACC, which is still a possibility. For Notre Dame, they have to win this one. Clemson, 5.5, 6-point road favorites. 49.5 to 50.5 the total. NBC has this game, so that's a treat. You get to hear the biggest college football game of the day. You get to hear Mike Tirico. That's always a good thing on the play-by-play. Clemson and Notre Dame. Look, I've seen enough of Notre Dame over the years, and in fact, family members of mine are big Notre Dame fans and have been. And I like to give them grief on a week like this when they think they're ready now to finally beat a big-time team. And I always say, in the last 25 years, could you give me the examples of when you've actually beat a big-time freaking team? Because I'm having a hard time remembering of those instances. Here's the stat for Notre Dame that stands out. This is a stat that I had read earlier in the week, and man, is it worth mentioning here regarding this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team. You look at their ability to step up in class. It has been, tough for them to be able to do that here. This Notre Dame Fighting Irish team here, as I'm looking for it just now. We'll find it in just a second. But anyway, I'll get to it in a sec, but here's the issues here with Notre Dame. Their offense, against Clemson's defense concerns me. Let's not forget, Notre Dame, they beat Pittsburgh, big score. A lot of those were fluke plays, defensive touchdowns, short fields by Pittsburgh turnovers. It's not like Ian Book had to move the ball up and down the field. They're going to be tested by Clemson's defense. And the fact that they got shut down by Louisville in a home game 12-7 just a few weeks ago, Louisville's defense, and this is going to be much tougher against Clemson. I'm a DJ believer in terms of Clemson. Diablo missed Trevor Lawrence, but DJ Uiagalelei, 342 yards last week. Absolutely outstanding, taking over for Trevor Lawrence. And I like that he showed poise. Didn't flinch when his team was down at halftime against Boston College. He played a great second half. That leads me to believe he's got the poise necessary on the road in a big game like this to still play, keep his head, play well, and lead this team to potentially a victory here in this game. And here's the stat for Notre Dame. Since 1994, against top 10 teams, when they face teams ranked in the top 10, and obviously Clemson is their number one, 4-40 straight up, 11-32-1 against the spread. That's terrible. That is a damning track record for Notre Dame in their ability to step up in class. Just look at the Brian Kelly era alone. The Alabama national championship game, which I think was back in 2012. Look how bad that went for them.
Come on.
Look at Clemson in the playoff just a couple of years ago, 30-3. They lost to Clemson in the college football playoff in 2018. The Georgia game, I think a year or two ago, failed to cover and really didn't move the ball on offense in that game. When they face these kind of teams, Alabamas, your Georgias, your Floridas, your Clemsons, the elite of the elite, the teams that bring in one five-star recruit after another, Notre Dame can't beat those teams, or at least hasn't shown you an ability to beat those teams. So you know where I'm going. I'm laying the 5.5, 6 here with Clemson to get the job done. Connor, thoughts on the big one, Clemson, Notre Dame?
Yeah, I got to go with Clemson. Sorry, I got a burp. I think. Nope. Okay. I got to go with Clemson.
We can drink a lot and burp a lot. That's all right.
I do. Man, I got to stay hydrated. All this. Because I drink too much beer, and you got to drink a shitload of water, coffee, drink too much beer. Clemson, all the way here. It's under a touchdown. I mean, I think it's the play of the day as well, just because the number is short. Notre Dame, you said you have family members. Yeah, I always grew up Notre Dame kind of fan, I guess semi-fan. I don't even know. My dad, he used to rag me. How are those Irish doing, those bums, But they just can't get it done in big games. So, and Ian Book, I don't think he can't get it done. He's looked worse this year to me. Their offense just hasn't looked explosive at all. You know what I mean? Their defense is what maybe could keep them in this game, but I don't know how much of that either. So I lay the small 5.5 here with Clemson.
Yeah, you and I are in agreement here. Again, there's things to like about Notre Dame. This is a good team. It's a good team. But again, when we're talking about being in there's levels to this shit. That's the phrase that I'll hear a lot of people saying. There's levels to this. Notre Dame is like here. They're probably, that next tier of teams that are really, really good. But then there's that Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Florida tier, Ohio State tier. And I don't think Notre Dame's up there. Those teams are there, and Notre Dame's
Yeah, they're
more
just below.
here.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, to me, the difference here. And they have just not shown that ability against the absolute best of the best of the best to be able to win games like this. So Connor and I both liking Clemson. All right, that's going to just about wrap it up. But first, best bet to wrap up the show here, see what we can give you for tonight. I'll try to give you a game from tonight's action. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see if there's a line that's still out there that's pretty good in terms of hasn't moved too much from where I bet it. We'll use that as a best bet. I'm gonna go Oregon State. I'm gonna go Oregon State -3. I mean, I took money line a few days ago -125. I wouldn't lay the money line now; it's too rich because it was 1 point favorite. They were when I took the money line, so it was a money line price. It isn't now that it's -3. So we'll just go with Oregon State here, -3 against Washington State. I think the Beavers get it done in late night Pac-12 action. This is your late night special tonight, your 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific kickoff. Oregon State to take care of business against Washington State. That'll be my best bet. Connor, if you had to pick a best bet, what are you going with?
For tonight's games, I mean, I'd go with Clemson, but I'll give you another one for the late ones. I'll take Arkansas. Money line at home, just to flat out beat Tennessee. I think they can get it done. So yeah, give me Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good week for best bets on both shows last week. The college show and the NFL show, you, me, and Ski.
Yeah.
We went 3-0 with them. So good stuff. Speaking of you, me, and Ski, that's the next time we'll be back with you tomorrow, noon Eastern. NFL closing time show. Connor Mack, Ski Profit, and I breaking down the Week 9 card, getting you ready for NFL action. We had a good week of shows with our bets and recommendations last week. Hopefully more of the same tomorrow. So join us for that, noon Eastern tomorrow, the NFL closing time show. That'll wrap up the college football closing time show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. All you guys, you got our backs in the chat. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting Pub Sports Radio, the YouTube channel. Keep tuning in every day. Great daily
Go to
content.
Wolf Spreads, guys. Sorry to cut you off. You can head to Wolf Spreads and download the app. Hit Pub Sports Radio Battle Royale, and you get 10K of money and you bet NFL games. There's already a bunch of guys in there doing it. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of like a fantasy draft, but you're just picking games straight up. And yeah, it's fun. So download the app and get in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
It's a lot of fun. Contests, prizes if you win, if you're good enough. So lots of stuff, a lot of reasons to sign up, get that Wolf Spreads app, and get involved in some of the Pub Sports Radio contests that we have going on. Have a great Saturday, everybody. Good luck with your bets. Not just college football. We got Breeders' Cup today. We got UFC. There's all kinds of stuff still going on. So good luck with your plays on this Saturday. Yeah, and lots to keep us busy and hopefully keep our wallets stacked. Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
You never guarantee that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you again tomorrow, noon Eastern, for the NFL Closing Time Show right here on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel.